What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jordan here. Sorry, I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but we did get the Power Series finale yesterday, and I just wanted to go ahead and make a recap video and give you guys my thoughts about it. Now, if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is a new channel and it does help out a lot. First and foremost, quite honestly, I just want to say this. Tariq is a punk ass, wannabe gangster, bitch ass little boy. Now I'm gonna get into why I feel that way about him, but I'm gonna go ahead and go over this episode, kind of give you guys a quick recap. Like I said, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts about everything I saw. Now the episode opens up, we see Tasha basically trying to get it in with Q, and at first, I was kind of getting creeped out by how Tasha was trying to have sex with Q, and Q kept bringing up Ghost for some reason. I thought that was really weird, but come to find out, Q knew what the hell he was doing, and I'm gonna get to that later in the episode. Fast forward, we see Tasha and Tariq talking to each other about the situation with Ghost, and Tasha seems very confident that Ghost is going to be going to jail, but we already know from previous episodes that this is not true. So the two of them go to sleep feeling as though that they've gotten rid of Ghost and that everything is going to be fine. Fast forward to the next morning, they see that Ghost is going to be the lieutenant governor, and Tariq basically tells Tasha, man, they're trying to paint him out to be a hero. He is not going to go to jail, and Tariq could not be any more correct. After that, we do get the scene where we see Tommy and Tariq talking. Now, we do know how this scene goes already. I'm not really going to get in depth on it because it was pretty standard. It was pretty much the exact same way it went down in the previous episodes. We do see Tariq get a text from Tasha saying that Dre wants his money. So that then takes us to the scene where we actually see Dre give Tariq the gun. Now, we didn't see Dre give Tariq the gun in other episodes or in Dre's episode, and other people were saying, well, why did they purposely hide this and things of that nature. The reason we didn't see Dre give Tariq the gun in previous episodes is that you guys got to remember, this is all taking place from perspective. So the individual characters that we're seeing, we're only seeing the things that were important to them or the things that were severe to them and the way they perceive certain things. So from Dre's perspective, him giving Tariq the gun because he had his own problem. When you go back to Dre's episode, the reason why we don't see Dre give Tariq the gun is because in Dre's episode, Dre is so caught up in his problems and what he needs that giving Tariq the gun in his point of view in his life and what he was trying to do at the time, that wasn't a key detail. But to Tariq, because Tariq knows what he wants the gun for and why he needs the gun, it's a key detail that in his episode we saw him actually receiving the gun from Dre. I don't know if that makes sense. Please let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's just a perspective thing and what we define or what we feel is important or isn't important. Moving forward, we see Ghost at the cemetery with Tasha, and we basically just see Ghost disrespecting Tasha like times 10. And at first I was going to get irritated by this because it did kind of seem like they were trying to get us to hate Ghost so that we would accept his death more. But what I'm realizing is in different perspectives, people will perceive each other differently. So you could tell me, hey man, I heard you eat ass. And to you, you were just standing like, hey man, I heard you eat ass. But to me, you're trying to clown me. And I don't think that's a good example. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. I think he called her a half smart chicken head, which was really funny. And he also told her that he would be taking the kids to Albany. Now, anybody that knows James knows that taking the kids to Albany, that wasn't a threat. That was more like a promise. We then cut to Tasha at her apartment and Tommy coming in and basically looking around the apartment to make sure no one is there. And we just see Tasha kind of telling Tommy, hey, I'm dealing with this with Ghost and this and that, and what are we going to do about Ghost and X, Y, Z? And basically we see the scene play out the way it did before in Tommy's point of view. Only this time Tommy seems to be way more aggressive, and I realize that for any woman to be threatened by a man like that in the way that Tommy did it, and Tommy's already a scary guy, so she's already probably afraid of him on some level anyway. But to be threatened by a man in a way that in the way that Tommy threatened her, it was a more traumatic experience into her. Tommy was being way more aggressive than in Tommy's perspective. In Tommy's perspective, he was aggressive, but not to the degree that we see that Tasha felt he was. Something interesting we did get to see is when Tariq brought Dre's shady ass to the club to talk to James. We got to see Tariq hide the gun in Club Truth. Now, personally, for me, this was no surprise. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this, guys, right now before I finish this recap. I already knew Tariq killed James. I have it in another video I did earlier, like a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of cite evidence and support why I knew that it was Tariq this entire time. You guys can go check that video out. I'm like, it literally just made sense from start to finish. Like it literally wasn't even a surprise for me when I saw this episode. But enough about that. We do see Tariq head back to school because Mr. Radner is being arrested for selling drugs. And honestly, this show did a lot to set up potential spinoffs and side stories, and you kind of see the writers and creators of Power really tying up all those loose ends as we got these last 5 episodes. Remember back with the shooters that shot at Ghost and Tommy, and it turns out in Councilman Tate's episode we found out where the shooters came from, and basically that they were killed off, and there really wasn't much else that was going to happen from that. So that's what I've been noticing. Any loose ends that happened in the first 10 episodes, like with Proctor giving the flash drive to his daughter, that loose end got tied up in Tommy's episode. Like, they just tied up a lot of loose ends and a lot of potential stories that could have spilled over into one of the spinoff series. So I don't really like that. I felt like that shit was really kind of fucking pointless. Moving on, we see Tasha and Tate speaking. And now we see Tate basically saying to Tasha that Ghost is gonna turn Tariq in. And you see Tasha, this does not sit well with her, and this prompts the conversation that she has with Ghost. Come to find out that Ghost wasn't even thinking about that. But then Ghost has an epiphany. Maybe Tariq should turn himself in. And the reason why I completely agree with Ghost, some of you guys out there, if you're parents, you may disagree with that. And if you do, this is my personal opinion about you, but you probably got a lot more growing up to do. So the logic behind that is, if Ghost is about to become lieutenant governor, think about that. He's about to become lieutenant governor. That means connections and authority and influence in many different ways. If he would have went to jail for Tariq, Ghost would have literally lost everything. And guess what would have happened 9 times out of 10? Tariq would have been outside with his freedom, and Tariq would have still tried to be a punk ass wannabe gangster. And Tariq probably would have got caught, as he would have already if he didn't have his parents helping him out. He would have already gotten caught and sent to jail. And then you would have had Ghost and Tariq in jail. And if I was Tariq's dad and that shit happened, I would look at my son with such disownment and disappointment. Because it would essentially be like, son, why am I in jail if your ass was gonna end up in here anyway? With Tariq going to jail and James becoming lieutenant governor, when Tariq would have got out of jail or prison, whichever one you want to call it, when Tariq would have gotten out, James could have made sure his son was set up. He could have got his son a job, a nice apartment, and he would have been well. He would have been doing well for himself. Yeah, he probably would have had a rap sheet, but with James's or with Ghost's connections, Ghost probably could have got his rap sheet expunged, or he could have got it wiped clean. And so that's where you kind of see these character flaws coming in. You kind of see that Tariq and Tasha aren't really thinking clearly. They're thinking very short term. And it's like with Tasha, if James takes Tariq and your daughter to Albany, and that's the case, hey, at least you got your freedom, and at least you'll know your son will be okay. Tariq, you want your dad to do the time for you, but it's like, Tariq, that honest to God makes no sense. There is no logic in your dad doing the time for you. The truth of the matter is, Tariq is a bad fucking gangster. He is literally a wannabe bitch made ass gangster. Tariq has made so many fucking mistakes since deciding to try to become a gangster. You got your fucking sister killed. You went and shot the cop by yourself and had your dad and Tommy not showed up. You probably would have left enough evidence for them to trace it back to you, which they are already on to you anyway right now. So it's just like, and then Tasha, her dumbass, you killed Lakeisha, Tariq's only alibi. And it's like Tasha and Tariq, they're so caught up in how much they dislike Ghost and how they perceive him that they can't really see that. They can't see that their own decisions are so short term that if they do take out Ghost, they're thinking that's going to solve their problem, everything's going to be okay, XYZ, this and that. And it's like, you guys are not thinking clearly. If he wanted you guys gone or dead or in jail, you would already be there, man. He's not telling his son to go to jail for the sake of go to jail, son. He's telling his son to go to jail because logically that just makes sense. Cut to the next scene, we see Tariq and Ghost speaking to each other. And to keep this scene brief, basically it's the exact same scene as before, only from Tariq's point of view, his dad put his hands on him. Now, I get a lot of you are probably thinking I get perceiving someone to say something differently than what they may have felt they said, but how could the writers change complete actions and complete things that the characters physically did? And that is pretty simple. We as people, when we get into it with someone and we go back and tell others what happened in the situation, we tend to make ourselves sound better in the situation than what we actually did. So say if me and my wife get into it and we're yelling at each other, we're screaming at each other or whatever, when I go back and tell my side of the story to people, I may leave out the fact that I was cursing and hollering at her. I don't do this, but I'm just giving you guys an example. I may leave out the fact that I was cursing and hollering at her. I may just say, hey, listen, I had my voice raised and and then we were talking to each other and I was aggressive about it, but I wasn't cursing at her or hollering at her. But let her go back and tell her friends, I was cursing and hollering, I was screaming and yelling, but she wasn't cursing and hollering. She was just trying to talk to me aggressively and firmly as well. But the actual truth of the matter is we both were screaming and hollering at each other. We both were coming at each other aggressively. I don't know if that made sense. Please let me know in the comment section if what I'm saying is making sense to you guys. But basically what I'm saying is we as human beings have an instinct ability to make ourselves sound like we're not the problem in situations, or we have the instinct ability to leave out certain bad things that we may have done in a situation whenever we're telling it back to other people. So from Ghost's point of view, we don't see Ghost put his hands on Tariq because Ghost doesn't see himself like that. Ghost in his mind didn't. Man, it's really complicated to explain. But from Tariq's point of view, man, it's really complicated, guys, but it's simple. It's complicated, but it's simple. And basically, we kind of get in this same scene, we basically get the ludicrous idea as to why Tariq thought that James or Ghost was going to kill him. Based on, I'm not going to give it away because I want you guys to go back and watch that scene, but based on the story that Ghost tells Tariq, it basically ends up with Ghost putting his hands on Tariq and telling Tariq, don't force my hand, son. And we see Tariq basically misinterpret this because of the story that Ghost just told. So then we kind of see in the next scene where Tariq and Tasha are talking, and they come to the ludicrous conclusion that, we got to kill Ghost. After that scene, after we see Tasha and Tariq plot or whatever on what they're going to do and how they're going to kill Ghost at Truth or whatever, or at least how Tasha's going to kill Ghost at Truth, we see Tommy and Tariq talking as we did in Tommy's episode. And basically, Tommy's trying to go save Tariq, and Tariq basically, obviously, he tells Tommy, "I'm not saving Ghost if Dre's gonna, off him or whatever." So Tommy gets in a car, and Tariq tries to tell Tasha, and he kind of reneges for a second. He decides to tell Vincent. Now, if you guys go back and watch that episode, one of my last uploads about the confirmed killer, I told you guys in that video that Vincent was about to tell Tommy, "Who do you think told me where you were?" He was about to tell him. He was about to tell him, "You can't trust Tariq. Who do you think you trust Tariq? Who do you think told me where you were?" But Tommy cut him off and killed him basically. So Tommy didn't hear what Vincent said. But yeah, I told you guys it was Tariq this entire time. I knew it was Tariq. I knew it was Tariq since episode 10. It just made sense. Honestly, to do some shit like that to Tommy could have died. I don't know if Tariq did that thinking that it was just going to slow Tommy down and he was going to be able to let Dre kill Ghost, or he was going to be able to kill Ghost himself. But Tommy could have died from that. And to me, Tariq doing that kind of let me know that you don't give a fuck. You clearly don't give a fuck about Tommy at this point. You just sent some people who are looking for him to kill him. You just sent those people to him. Like, come on, man, that's fucked up. And we're just gonna go ahead and skip ahead to the end where we see Tariq pull up on Ghost, basically saying, "You go turn me and my mom in, and you left us for Angela," and just basically saying all of the shit that a young teenage boy would say to his father out of a fit of rage because those feelings have just been boiling up on the inside. I'm not going to lie to you. I do agree with Ghost. Like, hey, once you kill me, once you shoot me, your father, you can't come back from that. So don't even try. Once you do this is a decision that you're going to have to live with forever. The one thing that Tariq says that kind of fucking pissed me off was, "You can't see me, Dad. You can't see me, Dad." Or something like, "You can't see me, Dad. You don't realize that I'm you, Dad." And the thing that pissed me off about that line was, no, you are not James St. Patrick. You are a wannabe gangster, suburban, luxury living, privileged, punk ass boy. You can do that. You can do that little gangster punk ass shit to all your little white friends, all your little privileged white friends that don't know the streets and shit like that at your schools all you want to. Tariq, you're not as tough as you think you are. You're not a gangster. This shit, you didn't grow up like your dad did. Your dad grew up doing this shit because he had to. You grew up doing this shit because you see your dad doing it. So that must be me too. So now I gotta do it. Y'all are not the same fucking person, nor did you have the same fucking upbringing to try to act like you're your dad. Dumbass. Like, "I'm you, Dad." That line made me cringe so bad. You are not your father, and you have proved that shit time and time again. In the short few seasons that Tariq has tried to be a gangster, he has made some devastating mistakes, like some detrimental mistakes. And it's very irritating. It was very irritating for me to hear him say that. Like, I wanted to reach through the screen and chunk the shit out of him. But moving on, we basically see we obviously see Tariq shoot Ghost. Tasha runs in, "No, what did you do? This and that," and all that bullshit. And we see Tariq and Tasha talking. Tariq tells Tasha to go ahead and go. Tariq realizes he's kind of made a mess of things, and he needs to double back and make sure he cleans up the right way. So Tasha leaves. Tariq looks over the ledge or the railing to see his dad, and we see Tommy look up and say, "You," and points a gun at him. And at this exact moment, we hear Gus say, "Let him go." Now, here's my thing about that, guys. In my previous YouTube video, go back to this. Tell me I'm wrong, but in my previous YouTube video, I said it. I said, who the hell would tell their brother who sees the killer in plain sight, "Hey man, let it go, let him go"? Who would they say that for? it would only be their child. It wouldn't have been Tasha. If it was Tasha and Tommy looked up, James would have let him shoot James would have let Tommy shoot Tasha. One, he already didn't leave her anything in the will. So, and he's been dogging her out the entire fucking episode. As we saw the past few episodes, he just was not treating Tasha nicely at all. So my whole thing about that is, guys, like, come on now. Really? Really, guys, come on. Like, it had to be Tariq. That's the only person. People thought it was Ramona for a second. I'm like, dude, it's not Ramona. She doesn't have enough motive. That would be really weird for her to certainly change and be like, oh, it's you. You're a killer. XYZ, when there was no motivation leading into her character change. Fuck that shit. But obviously it was Tariq, because I thought to myself, if it was my son who shot me, I would be hurt. Even when we saw in episode 10 when James was falling to the floor, if you guys rewatch that slow motion clip, look at James' face. The way they had Omari Hardwick act that scene out, his face looked as though his heart had been ripped out, as though he had been hurt, as though he was sad, basically, that he had been shot by whoever the killer was. And so that's how I knew from the beginning, like, yeah, it was Tariq. Because for you to tell Tommy, let it go, you're not going to say that for anybody else in the world unless it's your child. Now, as Tariq is leaving the club, we do see Tariq spot Cooper Sachs with a gun, appearing to be very drunk or whatever. And later on, we're gonna find out that Tariq uses this against Zach to try to pin this on Dre. Tariq gets out of there, acts like nothing has happened. He kind of circles back to the club. And remember, at this point, when he last saw his dad was faintly breathing. His dad, was still alive. So some people may think that Tariq was just acting, but when Tariq walked up, that was Tariq. Because remember, when he shot James, and I forgot to mention this, but when he shot James and he saw James say, or when he shot Ghost and he saw Ghost tell Tommy to let him go, that made Tariq cry. That hurt Tariq's heart, because Tariq was like, wow, this man does love me. This man does have love for me. And I just did this. I'm realizing I just messed up. So we see Tariq circle back, not to keep up appearances, but because he was actually trying to go make sure that James or Ghost had not died. I'm sorry. He was literally trying to make sure that he hadn't killed him. So when he went up there, if you saw on Tariq's reaction, because think about it, Tariq didn't have to circle back. He could have went home. Why did he circle back? Because he was genuinely concerned. And he probably thought that for a second, no, I don't think I killed him. He was still breathing with Uncle Tommy. He's probably okay. So he circles back. As soon as they say we need to get a detective, Tariq already knows that means, okay, he's dead. So then Tariq starts to flip out, and Tariq's reaction is genuine. He is genuinely upset and hurt about what he just did, because that right there was confirmation that, yo, I just killed my dad and I regret it. We then cut to the ending of the episode, where it appears that Tasha and Tariq are getting a happy ending. I'm not going to give away why they don't get the happy ending, because I want you guys to at least watch the episode for yourself. But basically, Blanca knocks on their door. Tasha's getting ready to start work. I'm not going to tell you how. And Tariq is getting ready to start school. And Blanca knocks on their door, basically saying, hey, listen, the person that we had in custody told us everything. And we know it was you that shot him. Now, as they're carrying Tasha away, I had a problem with Tariq, because Tariq kept telling Tasha, Mom, tell him the truth. Tell him the truth. Nah, bitch, you tell him the truth. You the one who fucking did it. So why you ain't saying shit, huh? You not gonna say shit? You just not gonna say shit. You just gonna let them take your mama. You fucking bitch. So my whole issue with that is Tasha is going to jail. We see her getting undone. She's looking real rough, real, like she got hit by a bus. And so we see, Tariq, living a life. He's getting ready to start school. He's getting ready to get that money. So long as he graduates with a 3.5 GPA, everything seems to go well for Tariq. And I didn't really like that ending. I didn't really I don't know. Tariq is clearly delusional. He's clearly here's the thing, he's delusional, but I have to remember that Tariq is a teenager. And most teenagers think the way he does. Most teenagers, if you're a teenager and you're watching this video, most of you teenagers think the way Tariq does, whether you believe it or not. You think very nearsighted. You think very short term. You think with your emotions and you can't see the bigger picture. I was like that. And I didn't realize I was like that until years later. And I was like, wow, I was that same type of teenager, and it's sad, but you killed your dad for what? Like, your dad was thinking logically. Like, your dad has your back to the very end. Like, your dad could have let Tommy put a bullet in your ass and he said, nah, let him go. All right, guys, that's all we have for this video. Please let me know what you thought about the episode down in the comment section below. Now, they did announce 4 spinoff series that are going to be coming soon. So we have Book 2, Ghost, Book 3, Raising Canaan, Book 4, I think that one's Influence, and Book 5, Force. We will be talking about those spinoffs as more news and updates are announced about those shows. So please keep it locked in here at this channel. Please make sure you're a subscriber. Like this video if you did find it entertaining or informational. And that's all we have, guys. And we'll see you on the next one.